Won't get quiet yet. I got some stuff to do. I forget which one I'm.
Okay, so if you first person, and then you click, yeah, and then they should go.
Okay, that's the way they're supposed to. I love it when it works like that. It's all her fault. They won't in. Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner, Precinct 1.
Present.
Devin Allen, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation today will be delivered by Chaplain First Lieutenant Pastor Cody Bailey. Thank you for coming out today. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges.
Judge, Commissioners, thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity. Please join me in a moment of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today. We want to thank you for life and breath. We thank you for the many blessings of mercy that you give us each and every morning. Lord, we ask that you just continue to bless this court as we go forward today in whatever it is that we may do. Lord, I especially thank you for the opportunity to just come before you humbly and thank you for your servant, Judge Whitley, for what he has done over these years as service to our county and to our city and to our state. Lord, I also thank you for the members here today that will make decisions. Let them do so with your wisdom and with your discernment. Lord, I just appreciate the wonderful citizens that are here that just represent a beautiful community that we have. So, Lord, thank you for this opportunity, and it's in your wonderful and precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Chaplain. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have several announcements as relates to the agenda this morning. The first is under proclamations, resolutions, and presentations, item 7A. This is the National Veterans Awareness Week proclamation. There was some miscommunication in our office, and we are going to hold that for 1 week so that it will show up at the appropriate time on the agenda. I might note, though, that starting Sunday, what you're going to see on the historic courthouse is that the entire courthouse will be lit in green. And it's in recognition of Veterans Day and the support we have for our veterans. It's a national effort, and I want to thank facilities for really doing a good job on getting that thing green. And I'm not talking about just one piece of it. It's going to be the entire building, and it'll be that way for a week.
I applaud that. We've been trying to figure out ways to turn that courthouse different colors for years, and they've said that it couldn't be done. Now they've figured out a way, and I'm glad to hear it.
Mike Amador and his team did a great job on that. So, also, members of court, under the county administrator section, item 9A4, this is the assignment of a tax abatement agreement. We're going to remove that from consent. We are going to consider it when we get to that point, but we're removing it from the consent agenda. Also, members of court, under purchasing item K1, this is the bid number 2022-030. This is for the sale of recycled paper. There is a revised court communication in your red folder this morning or electronically. We got the bids in yesterday. And then finally, members of the court, we are going to go into closed session today. There are several items that we're seeking legal advice on, and so we'll be going into close for a very short period of time. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, Your Honor, I might mention we do have 5 audience participation forms, but they are all part of the last section of the agenda. We're not going to have to pull anything off the agenda on that.
Okay, thank you. Court members, do you have any announcements at this time?
I do. Just a reminder to everyone that, of course, we are in the second week of early vote. We are seeing lower turnout than we did this time 4 years ago, so it's important that everyone get out and make their voice heard. Of course, you can vote at any polling location in Tarrant County, or Tarrant County voter can go to any polling location in Tarrant County. And then also I wanted to share some information for an event about a week or so from now is the 11th annual Hiring Red, White, and You Job Fair hosted by the Texas the Texas Veterans Commission and the Workforce Commission, along with the Workforce Solutions of Tarrant County. So that is November 10th at 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Globe Life Field in Arlington. You can visit the Workforce Solutions website to get more information. It is free to attend that event as a job seeker, but you do need to register. So again, that is November 10 from 9 to 2 p.m. at Globe Life Field in Arlington. That is the 11th annual Hiring Red, White, and You Job Fair. And that's all I have.
Anyone else have anything? I would just note that this morning, Commissioner Allen and I had the honor of attending Judge Carr's 20th Marine birthday celebration. He began that, 20 years ago. And this is his last year. He's also retiring at the end of this year. They had a great turnout there, and it was really good to be able to be a part of that deal. Next week, I believe, Mr. Manius, we're having CEO of the National Medal of Honor Museum. Is that next week?
That's correct.
He will be here next week, and we'll talk a little bit about the National Medal of Honor Museum going on in Arlington, and that's something else that we're very, very excited and very, very proud of. It's going to be I think, just an unbelievable museum, and not only just to talk about the past, but also to talk about the future, and so I'm very, very excited about that. I believe that's everything. So if no one else has anything else, then we'll move on to the approval of the minutes of our regular meeting of October the 25th.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion, a second. Please vote. Commissioner Fickus, you need to vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. As was said earlier, we're going to hold the proclamation for National Veterans Awareness Week till next week, and so that brings us to our employee recognition. And again, this is one of my favorite times, and it's being more favorite just from the fact that this is my next to the last one, and so I think as I have an opportunity to call and talk with those employees from 25 plus, it really gives me an opportunity to kind of hear the history and the things that I feel like excel at in Tarrant County. For those of you who are new, the 5-year employees, when I call your name, please stand up. I say this somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but because of the way I never did well in phonics, so if it sounds like your name, or if it's in the alphabet where it should be your name, please stand up. And you can laugh at me because they will, but I really want to tell you how much I appreciate this. So we'll start off with the 5 years. Stay standing until your particular group is finished. Beginning with Andrew Archer, Sheriff's Office. Donna Baker, Juvenile Services. Caleb Calvary, 360th District Court. Alexa Daniels, County Clerk. Alexa. Lizelle Gonzalez, County Clerk. Did I come anywhere close on that first name? Yes. Thank you. Mohammed Hamed Hassin, Information Technology. Yeah, I'm not even going to ask you how close I came on that one. Gilberto Jatmain, you guys are just working on me this morning. Facilities Management. Monica Lugo, Sheriff's Office. She's grinning, so I came fairly close. Derek Madrano, Information Technology. Raina Neighbors, Sheriff's Office. Elizabeth Pazzi, Purchasing. Peach. That's Peach? Yeah. I don't feel so bad. Patricia Reeves, Tax Office. Thank you. Malakala, yeah, Walker, Michaela. Oh, you look like a Michaela after, but I just wasn't sure there in that first attempt there, Sheriff's Office. And then Wilson Wimberly, Facilities Management. These are our 5-year employees. Y'all can be seated. Now, I'm going to just tell y'all, you're right now, many of y'all are thinking you came to the county and we got you to the 5-year mark, so you're feeling better about staying here with us. At the 10-year mark, we got you. And if we don't got you, then look at that TCDRS website before you leave. Because once you look at that, then we really got you. And by the time you get to the 15-year marker, you're just going to say, you couldn't blow me out of here. 10-year employees. Scott Grazer, Sheriff's Office. Joshua Hearn, 231st District Court. Daniel Helton, Sheriff's Office. Nadelia Harina, District Attorney's Office. Chantel Jennings, Public Health. Anna Cotel, Medical Examiner. Jennifer Colate. Boy, I wouldn't have got that one. County Clerk, thank you for working with me on that deal. Manuel Rivera, Precinct 1. Sharanda Shelton, Juvenile Services. These are our 10-year employees. Let's give them a hand. Now for our 15-year employees. Jose Aguilar, Public Health. Andrea Bowles, Justice of the Peace, number 6. Eduardo, Eduardo, are you here? He's with the Sheriff's Office. And we're just going to leave it at Eduardo. Patricia Gamboa, Public Health. Kelly Gilliam, Housing. Felix Juarez, Constable 1. Imatu No, Constable 1. We'll never know how I pronounce that one. Patricia Page, Purchasing. Rosa Rivera, Public Health. Anton Supak, Elections. Okay, go ahead and give it to us. Thank you very much for being here. These are our 15-year employees. For our 20-year employees, see, they laugh at me. They just look ahead and start laughing. Shedrick Bolton, Criminal Court. Okay, how you say that first name? Shedrick Bolton. Well, I did better than I thought. James Davison, Juvenile Services. Letitia Jackson McDougall, Criminal Courts. James Mercado, Precinct 3. Samuel Williams, Criminal District Attorney's Office. Thank your mom for Samuel Williams. These are our 20-year employees. Now for the 25 and plus, you know, I will tell you, when I started this out, I was doing 20-year plus. But it got to the point to where we had 25, 30 employees when you included that 20-year group. So I moved it to where we were just doing 25, because then otherwise Mr. Manius would have had to stay out of the room the whole day. But we'll start with our 25-year employee, and our first one is Jackie Arteo, Criminal Courts Magistrate. I didn't think they were going to be able to make it today, but 25 years with the county.
Thank you.
Next is,
I ate yogurt.
who is that? Okay, sorry about that. Next is Don Baker, Juvenile Services. Where's Don? Don started out in intake and has been there ever since. He said the intake area is where the different police agencies bring the youth in to refer, and then at that point in time they decide what's going to happen or what system they're going into. When he talked about most memorable moments, he said the experiences has really been good. Most memorable moments would be when they would celebrate certain days, and they had a gentleman out there by the name of Robert Woodard who would barbecue, and they would just get together and they'd all have a good time, and he said those are the days that I look back on and I really remember. What he likes most is the way the county supports its employees, the benefits that they offer. He said they just care. They not only do they support and do well through the benefits part of it, but they just care for their employees. And he said over the 25 years I've made tremendous friends, and he said that's one of the most important things to him. He's retiring at the end of January. Don, thank you so much for your 25 years of service to Tarrant County. Next is Rhonda Rockwell, Public Health, 25 years. Rockwell, excuse me. Started in public health in the STD clinic on University, and now is working in the adult health services area. Now in disease intervention specialist epidemiology. Memorable moments, she said there was so many things. She's really, I think, big on the education part, and she said I really enjoyed the opportunity at the education at the Correction Center with MHMR. When I asked her what she liked most, it was the chance to meet with a lot of different people, and she said it's teaching folks about the STD and help them to understand the treatment and other parts of that. The jail project to educate inmates. She said she actually, when I think you visited and observed up in Chicago their program, and then was able to bring a lot of it back here. I could just tell that she really takes her job seriously and really enjoys helping folks, especially when they're in a time of need like they are. She told a story, and she said in her work with MHMR, she found a lady who was pregnant and had HIV. She was able to help the lady get out of her current environment and into a place that really helped her to have the baby. The mom put up the baby for adoption, but the couple who adopted the baby allowed her to follow up. And at the same time, this lady continued to get better through the process and after the process. And I think this just talks about the second mile. Rhonda could have easily stopped anywhere along that line, but she didn't. She went on and continued to help this lady who was in need and just didn't know what to do. And I think that's what we see more time and time again in Tarrant County with our employees. And Rhonda, I want to thank you personally for the 25 years you've given to Tarrant County. Thank you very much. Next is Jeff Kirkpatrick. Jeff wasn't sure he was going to be able to be here today, and I guess he's not. He spent all but 1 year of his 25 years in booking. I asked him if he thought he'd be here this long. Most of the time people say no. I felt like I'd be here a couple of years. He said, this is where I wanted to be. And he just knew he was going to be here 25 and plus number of years. So if you see Jeff, thank him for his 25 years of service. Next is Gwen Pugh with Criminal Court. She's an assistant coordinator. She wasn't going to be able to be in court today. But if you see Gwen, thank her also for her 25 years of service. Next is Tom Zabak. Is he in court today? Another one that has spent, a lot of time. He said, I've been very grateful for the job and for the friends that I've made. He's worked just about in all areas of juvenile services. And he said it's just, he said it's been great to work with kids and then just see some of them as they've succeeded and turned their lives around. Next is Jerry Brown, 30 years, Constable Precinct 3. There's Jerry. Started out in the old Belknap. In '94, he moved into patrol, was promoted to sergeant in 2000. Spent some time in criminal warrants, and then 6 years ago, he moved over to the constable's office and works with Constable Huffman. He met his wife while working in the jail. She was in the chaplain's office, and in fact, she still is there. Ellen, stand up. So Ellen's been with the county for quite some time also.
Yes, sir.
Now, what is it about? Is it just a little over 30 years, isn't it? Uh-oh, they're going to have to do their...
Well, no, yeah, 30 years service for him. I'll call myself a repeat offender. I worked for a couple of years, left, came back to the sheriff's office. Probably 26 combined for me.
Thank you for your service also. He said one of the things he likes most is the fact that even though he's now moved to the constable's office, he's still a member of the sheriff's SWAT team. And that's something that's meant an awful lot to him. He said, I love the county. He said, I love working for Constable Huffman. He's one that didn't really expect to be here that long. But he said, working with Daryl has been a lot of fun, and he's a great boss. Jerry, thank you, or JB is what he goes by. JB, thank you so much for spending 30 years with the county. Next is Albert Garza, 30 years with the elections. He wasn't sure he was going to be able to make. It's a little busy time right now for the elections people. But when you see him, please. His dad actually had worked for the county as a bailiff in the '90s. He also met his wife through county. They've been married for 26 years, now 31 years, I guess. And that she's the one that has worked more years than he has. So that's how I got y'all a little confused from that standpoint. But if you see Albert, please thank him for his 30 years of service to the county. Next is Margie Munez, DRO, 30 years. There she is. Started out opening mail. She said, I've done just about everything in DRO and is now a child support officer. She said, I've made an awful lot of great friends. It's always busy, never slows down. Every time just goes streaming by. She said, when she started here, she said, I had every intention of retiring here. And so she is another one that, the time has flown by, but she knew this is where she wanted to be. She said COVID is something that has really, affected them over the last 5 years, or I guess the last 2.5 years. A lot of clients were out of work and they needed additional assistance, and we can all remember that. She said, I'm on my 4th DRO director and child support director. And she says, it's been good, but it's just, everything's a little bit different. And she said, I really enjoy what she's doing, and especially the opportunity to help people. Margie, thank you very, very much for your 30 years of service.
I believe Margie may have brought someone with her this morning.
Did you bring someone you'd like to? Stand up and let us recognize you.
For 20 years.
You worked with who?
For Tarrant County in the graphics department.
Thank you very much. You 5 years, you'll be there one day. Just stick with us. Bernie Powell, security and court security, 30 years. Is Bernie here? He wasn't sure he was going to be able to make it today, but give him, if you see Bernie, thank him for his 30 years of service. Okay, next is Stacy Rhines, extradition. Stacy here. He thought he was going to have to go either pick up or deliver, so that just means he's out today. And again, thank Stacy for his 30 years of service. Lori McKendry, 35 years. She's with the 485th District Court. That's Judge Jumas, the new judge there. But she was with Judge Carr. I mean, you got her now, but you got, she's Judge Carr's court coordinator. She started in the district attorney's office and spent, I guess, about 4 years there. And then when Judge Carr came on in 91, when that court was started, she went to work for him and has been there ever since. Her most memorable moment was just, I guess, last Monday on an event for Darla. No. Okay, this was probably 15 years ago. Let's see. Yeah, it would have been. In fact, it was 20 years ago. This was back when, again, we were recognizing starting at 20. I'm reading what I have written in the past and trying to make sure that I update it for the future. So started at 20. At 25, she said everything was just kind of plugging along. Had 4 dogs at that point in time. At 10 years ago, she'd lost one of the Shelties. She's a big dog person. She had a brother at that time that was working for IT, and she says, I don't plan on retiring anytime soon. So this time, today, she has one Shih Tzu left. I have to be careful how I say that. And that she's, I believe your mom was in long-term care and you're spending time taking care of her. COVID, she said, was especially interesting because they had to keep the docket going. People in jail, they really did that, and I know she worked very, very hard at that. She hopes to continue to work for several more years. I won't define what several is. You better be good to her. She'll train you well if you'll just give her the opportunity. But Lori, we can't tell you how much we appreciate all the work you've done for Tarrant County. Thank you very much. Again, that's 745 years of service. We can't thank you enough. I mean, I wish there was more we could do, but we very much appreciate you because your culture and the way you treat people, regardless of their circumstance, is what makes this such a great county to be a part of. And I could never be prouder of anything than to be for being able to work with Tarrant County employees and all the hard work that you give. So thank you. We've got refreshments back in 504C, and enjoy them. saw Ann Farmer was over at the birthday party. So she flew in from Kentucky to do that. No Wilder, man. No Wilder. What? Vietnam are the ones that I always try to call out just because they Tina. I would move that we receive and file employee recognition.
Move to receive and file.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
And Commissioner Fickus is a yes too, so motion passes unanimously. Court members, you have before you the consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Manius?
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have 3 additional items for you this morning. On the first, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court receive and file the staff report as relates to the coronavirus that for the week of October 24th through the 30th.
Move to receive and file.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the Court, we can go to item number 2. We're requesting that the Commissioners Court receive and file that document on item number A. There are no changes to the FRF funds on the budget today. Also on item B, there is one item that is on the agenda that is going to be funded through ARPA funds, and that is attachment A. We're requesting that you receive and file this document.
Move to receive and file.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Court, we can go to item number 4. This is the one item that we've removed from the consent agenda. We're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve a consent to assignment of a tax abatement agreement for the Arlington Commons Development Phase 1-3, assigning all rights and obligations under the agreement to Truman Property Owners, LLC, and authorize execution of various documents.
Members, so I had asked for this to be removed from consent. I need to abstain following advice of counsel.
Move to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0 with 1 abstention.
Thank you.
Thank you, members of the Court.
Saw Ann Farmer this morning.
Move to receive and file a
Good morning.
personnel.
You saw Lou this morning?
Second?
We have a motion and a
Did
second.
you say Ann Farmer?
I saw Ann Farmer, yeah. She was up for celebrating we'll get back to business in a minute. Celebrating with Judge Carl for that, with the Marine.
Yeah, we had lunch with her. Robin and I did about 3 weeks ago. I thought she had gone back to Kentucky.
She did, but she came
She
back.
came back. Okay, I'll try to catch up with her.
Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
I'm in trouble with my boss now. Okay, we have a few more items for the court. The second item, we're asking the court to approve a waiver of terminal benefits for public health. Mr. Tenage is requesting that the court waive 209 vacation hours effective November 3rd, details of which are outlined in your communique. We're estimating net savings to the Public Health Fund of approximately $14,793 and some change. That does include fringe benefits.
Move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
So our next item is a request to approve a double fill as well as a waiver from Precinct 2, Commissioner Allen's Director of the Maintenance Center and Transportation Services is leaving county service at the end of this month. Commissioners requesting a waiver as outlined in your communique with a double fill from November 14th through the 30th. We are looking at an impact to the Road and Bridge Fund of a little bit more than $11,000.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So with our next item, we're asking the court to approve a table of organization change for transportation services. Specifically, we're asking the court to approve a reclassification for Director of Fleet Management for that position, effective November 2nd, with new technology and a larger and more diverse fleet. We were asked to reevaluate this position. The Job Evaluation Committee is recommending that this position be reclassed from a 72 to a 74 at an annual cost to the Road and Bridge Fund of approximately $5,700.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
And then our last item, we're asking for a change in the table of organization for HIV Administrative Agency. Your communique explains that we're requesting the reclassification of two positions, a financial analyst position as well as a HIV grants manager position. Again, the details are outlined in your court communique. These are grant-funded positions, so there'll be no impact to the general fund.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
And Judge, before I take my seat, if I could just remind our employees that annual benefits enrollment, is underway. Benefit screens are currently open. Enrollment will end on Wednesday, November 9th. And as a reminder to employees, this is the only time of the year that you get to make changes in your benefit plans, with the exception of qualifying events. So come and see us on the 3rd floor, or you can call 2861 for assistance.
There was one thing that I meant to add earlier on the action that we took for Precinct 2 Transportation Director. So many of you over the course of my term, and even with my predecessor, would have worked with Keith Melton, our Transportation Director. So Keith is retiring. As he's hearing me now, he's probably hoping that I don't lavish him with too many compliments because it would make him uncomfortable. So I'm not going to invite him here to court because he wouldn't like that. But I do just want to recognize Keith for all of his work since day one. With my serving as a Precinct 2 Commissioner, he has certainly been a great resource to our team. If you have any conversation with Keith, you know that he is headed to Montana and he is really ready to go. But so we have hired his successor, who I'll be sure to announce in court, and so everyone can get familiar with him. But I do, again, just want to thank Keith for all of his hard work over the years, and I understand he had no interest in training or retraining, as it were, the next commissioner for Precinct 2. So if you all just join me in applauding Keith for his years of service with the county, I really appreciate that.
I would add to and extend my colleague's remarks by saying that Keith was always willing to collaborate with the other precincts to help make it work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa, come on down.
Good morning.
Morning.
We have 5 items for your consideration. The first item is an award recommendation regarding bid number 2023-030. This is for the sale of recycled paper for 20+ tons of sorted white ledger, 20+ tons of sorted office paper, and 36+ tons of old corrugated cardboard for facilities management, awarding to the various vendors listed per unit price.
Move for approval.
Second.
Before we vote on that, is that 2023 or 2022?
It should be a 2023 because it ends with 30.
Okay, then we're going to have to hold that. I have that on the agenda for 2022. I apologize.
Yeah.
That's right, we are in a new year, aren't we?
2022 or 3 refers to the fiscal year?
Yes, but it's posted on the agenda that way, so we'll reschedule this for next week then
Okay.
on the consent agenda.
All right.
All right. The second item is also an award recommendation regarding bid number 2022-216. This is for the purchase of a self-propel reclaimer stabilizer, awarding to the primary and secondary vendors listed per unit price.
Move approval.
Second.
Second.
I guess the only question I would ask is it also has 2022, is it a 2022?
That one is a 2022. That's toward the end of our 2022s. That's why it ends with 200.
Okay. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
The third item is also an award recommendation regarding bid number 2023-005. This is our annual contract for the purchase of sedans, awarding to the 3 primary vendors listed per unit price.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
The fourth item is also an award recommendation regarding bid number 2023-019. This is for professional services for implementation of SAP contract and lease management module for information technology, awarding to Sage Group Technologies in the amount of $159,000.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
And the last item is a request for renewal regarding RFP number 2021-155. This is an annual contract for informatics consulting services for public health with J. Michael Consulting, awarding at the same contract terms. This is a ARPA funded, that's why it's
Move approval.
Second.
5%.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appointments today. Got a bunch of them. I need to reappoint Paul Padilla to the CPS board with term expiring in 2024. Emergency Services District Number 1, Steve Murin, for a new term that would expire in January of '24. And JPS Board of Managers, Steve Montgomery, new term expires February 28th of 2024.
Second.
Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Fickus, I believe you have some appointments.
I have 2 appointments to the Trinity Metro Board of Directors. This is a one term that ends, a 1-year term that ends on 9/1/2023. Councilmember Tito Rodriguez, the City of North Richland Hills. Councilmember Paul Selecta, City of Grapevine.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Johnson, I believe we're still waiting on one additional appointment, and that would be from, I believe, the City of Blue Mound.
Yeah, we talked to the mayor and we can't get a name. So I'm not sure what we're gonna do there.
Okay, we'll talk maybe between now and next week. We can figure out what our next choice might be and go from there. So
All right.
I'll give you a holler. Okay, court members, you have before you the claims including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims including the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims including the addendum. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Maynews?
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we're going to go to item B on the briefing initially. This is an update on the 2021 Transportation Bond Program. I think we're going to be talking about the multi-jurisdictional program this morning. Mr. Skinner is here to begin that conversation.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Morning, Randy.
Last week, staff briefed the court on the countywide initiatives category of the bond program. You may recall we provided a summary of the input we received from each court member. We provided that to the court. So today we're bringing, Commissioner Brooks had indicated an interest in bringing a project to the Commissioner's Court for consideration for funding in this category, countywide initiatives category. Specifically, this is the Wichita Street project. And we have with us today Will Gladbach with DEC, and I would like for him to come and talk to you about the project and give you more specifics.
Morning.
Good morning. Commissioners, Judge, how are y'all?
Good, how are you?
So we're passing out the fact sheet that we've kind of gone through, met with everyone, and understanding what the information that you guys are looking for. So for Wichita Street, we've been working on this project, gathering the information for the past couple of months. And Wichita Street is located in the city of Forest Hill, Everman, city of Fort Worth, in Tarrant County. And it starts at the intersection of I-2820 and goes south towards Roy C. Brooks Boulevard. In the program objectives, I'll just briefly touch on these, and then we'll get into a little bit details at the bottom. But it does improve the safety improvements of the corridor, leveraging of funds from other partners, substantial regional benefit, multi-jurisdictional project, and specific transportation projects within the priority corridors. So we hit a mix of those, about half of the objectives there. The lead agency will be City of Forest Hill. We've met with them, understanding what capabilities they have right now and projecting on taking over the project through construction. The existing conditions is a 2-lane asphalt roadside ditch road that has current flooding conditions, and there is no sidewalk, no pathway for pedestrians or bicycles, and as mentioned, the drainage issues. So what is proposed is a 5-lane undivided roadway, curb and gutter with a storm sewer, improve the drainage and flooding conditions there, also adding a 10-foot multi-use path with the roadway illumination. The scope is going to move from a 60 and 70-foot right-of-way to an 80-foot right-of-way. It will have improvement intersections at 820 and 2 other signalized intersections further down to accommodate the industrial developments that are happening on the Fort Worth side. Like as I mentioned, it'll have curb and gutter, and the storm and the drainage will be greatly improved. Our project schedule, we have already begun design. This is a quick, and we can get into more detail if you'd like or whatever, but we're trying to have construction complete by December 2024. The right-of-way acquisition we're preparing should have plans ready for right-of-way acquisition starting in January. Utility relocation in March of next year, and the same with construction. So part of all this, accelerating this, is getting a contractor on board as quickly as possible, and most likely working with Forest Hill to do a CMAR contract. The projected cost, the opinion of probable cost, right now is $16 million. The estimated right-of-way cost is $700,000. I think it'll come in quite a bit lower because some of these are developer, which they would dedicate the right-of-way as they would come on. So I'm hoping that number comes down. The design services, 1.3. The estimated construction cost is the 11.6. And we have also, right now, we're holding a 15% contingency. And that 11.6 has a little bit of conservative construction numbers in there as well. So as the funds are to be applied for that 16 million, anticipated bond allocation, 11.45 million. Matching funds are 3.25. The precinct discretionary, 1.3. And so that percent leverage calculates out to 28%. The funding leverage, the 3.25, is coming mainly from two developers, mainly one, but there's a second developer coming along that will participate as well. And the city of Forest Hill has some money for the managing of the construction contract, for construction management. The safety, the widening of the roads, putting a path on there, lighting the corridor, and improving the drainage is significant improvements to the safety of the corridor. The connectivity, one of the reasons the roadway is in poor condition, and the kind of the reason behind it, this is a short circuit, a cut from the intersection of 820 and 35 West. There's just a lot of industrial traffic that kind of cuts through to kind of miss the slowdowns at that intersection. People movement, the roadways are going to improve. Pedestrian on the east side of the roadway is mainly neighborhoods. On the western side is industrial development. And with Alta Mesa being planned to go through there, this will increase the vehicular traffic. And so this provides also pedestrians and bicycle traffic up and down that corridor. Right now, there's two churches. There's a kind of convenience store on the south. There is the City Forest Hill Community Center that's kind of in the middle, and then it's proposed to have City Forest Hill kind of a town center just at the southeast intersection of 820 and Forest Hill.
Forest Hill or Wichita?
Wichita Street, correct. Thank you. In the city. It's the City of Forest Hills Town Center. Thank you.
Okay.
The sustainability in that area adjacent to I-20, it's going to assist increase the mobility in that area with the cut through of I-20. And when I-20 continues to construction, this is going to take on significantly more traffic during that time period as well. Relieve congestion, it just improves the capacity and connectivity in this area. As I mentioned, the railroad comes through there. Alta Mesa is improving. It is a very good connector to I-35 with those roadways going east-west and also the 820. The industrial development that's happening in Fort Worth on that western side is increasing, and that'll be built out here in the next couple of years. So all that industrial development on that side is going to increase the traffic on this roadway. In the area, and I guess that falls into my last comment as well, is there. The area is attracting new development significantly on the industrial developments.
And that's in the city of Fort Worth?
Correct.
Are you done?
Yes.
Good. This is my #1 project under the bond program. It's an extension of the expansion of Wichita Street that happened some 20-odd years ago from 287 to 820. It became a 5-lane road. This project starts at 820 and makes the south part of Wichita Street match the north part of Wichita Street. The reason that this is crucial is because there is considerable truck traffic that needs to go north and south from 820 through the city of Forest Hill. And the city of Forest Hill currently has a no-through truck ordinance that I have been leaning on them not to enforce for years, with the promise that we would come up with a solution. this is that solution. Without approval of this project, we will have a train wreck out in that part of the county. This solution is that critical. Now, I have agreed to some things that will increase the leverage on this project. Which will will check the other boxes that we approved last week. And based upon that, I move approval of this project.
Second, I do have a question. Well, and actually, are we positioned to take action on this?
So
We
what
can,
we're
right?
going to do, we're asking direction from the court to go ahead and move forward to go into contractual agreements on this project. And so that's what we're doing. We'll bring that contract back to the court, but with the understanding that it will be approved by the Commissioners Court.
So you're not looking for action today?
Well, we're actually what we're looking for, Your Honor, is direction to move forward with the contract itself, that this is something that the court wants to see happen. We can very quickly put that in contract together and then bring it back to court.
Do it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I would just add to what Commissioner Brooks said, and as he said, and you may want to say something first.
I have a question, but you go ahead.
Roy and I had a conversation yesterday, and in this multi-jurisdictional category, in the 2006, this was the category that allowed us to get multiple leverages to our dollar. And so I had looked at this 125 that we've set aside for this in this particular bond issue as hopefully being able to get 2, 3, 4 times as much. And so what I suggested to Commissioner Brooks, and he was gracious to agree with, is that we look at adding a few other people to or a few other dollars to this. And so where we ended up, the 325 was the same. Commissioner Brooks said he would put in another $2 million. I indicated that I would put in $2 million out of my discretionary funds, and then we would attempt to get Fort Worth to put in $2 million. Obviously, Fort Worth is benefiting greatly from this in the warehouse districts. So I think this is something that they should be hopefully willing to participate in that. That would bring the leverage up to almost 2 to 1, because we would only be pulling about 5.45 out of our multi-jurisdictional, and the rest of that would come from discretionary monies as well as monies from the developer. And so that, in my mind, gets us over the 1-to-1, which we had set aside for our $200 million with the agreements between the cities on the city projects. And it does use some of our discretionary money, but the discretionary money has always been wherever the particular court member wanted to spend that money. And so in my mind, if we want to put it and that leverages something, then that does that, and it allows us to accomplish that.
We will approach the city of Fort Worth and see if they will come to the table with $2 million. But should they decide not to, that does not make this project any less critical.
And I agree with you 100% on that, and Phil, we will make it happen.
All right.
So then my question is, under this anticipated matching funds, is that where?
No, that's not the Fort Worth. That's anticipated. Well, I shouldn't be answering this.
Oh, from the developers. Okay, gotcha. I wrote it on my notes. I just didn't read it. Okay. So this question either is for you, Commissioner Brooks, or for you, William. So you'd mentioned Alta Mesa Boulevard, which I'm familiar with the area, but since it's not in my precinct, then I don't know what all's going on with Alta Mesa. So are there plans to?
There's an extension of Alta Mesa from its terminus.
In Wichita.
Where?
Ultimately, dead ends right now into Wichita, and through the development of the industrial swing through, go over the railroad tracks.
Okay.
And then over to 35.
Yeah, it terminates somewhere around the old Sam's Club location.
Okay, yeah,
And the extension is from there to Wichita Street.
that's great.
And that will open up some property for industrial development in the city of Fort Worth. The city limit line is the west side of Wichita Street.
That's right, yeah.
The road itself is in the city of Forest Hill and the city of Everman. But the benefits to expansion will be, number one, to the city of Forest Hill, because it will have a place for them to route through truck traffic. And number two, to the city of Fort Worth, because they will benefit from increased industrial development on the west side of Wichita Street.
Okay, that's great. Okay. I did have another question, not related to this project, but just, I want to make sure I understood a reference that Randy made. You said that there were meetings last week with the court members about this, and I was not part of any meetings, so maybe I misheard you.
These were the meetings that we held over the last several weeks.
Oh,
So
okay,
thank you.
okay, gotcha,
Yeah.
okay, very good.
Hey, can I just clarify one thing? Will had mentioned earlier the estimated right-of-way cost. We have in there $700,000. And the fact that those actually may be lower when we get ready to pursue that. But we do have those funds budgeted in our budget, transportation.
So that's not a part-
Right-of-way costs ought to be considerably lower, because as I understand the project, and I understand it pretty well, the right-of-way acquisition is some corner cuts.
Well, and as we look at, okay, if it does come in under, then what I might suggest is that, you know, to the extent that if we can get Fort Worth, great. Then the underage, I don't know that that's a word, but you know what I mean, would come out of the
gap,
out of that gap, so that, you know, that 545. So.
Thank you, appreciate it.
You bet. Now, do we need to, I know we started off with a motion and a second. Do we need to, or do you just need direction? You've got the direction you need.
I've got direction. That's all I was asking for, because the binding document is the document we're now going to go ahead and put forward with these modifications that you all talked about. And we'll bring that back in a week or so.
Proceed, and we'll figure out how to make this happen.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You heard him say it.
That's right.
Heard you
60
say it
days.
too.
60 days.
Okay, so the second item that's on the briefing concerns health-related issues. Mr. Tenaz is here to address the court at this time.
Good morning, Your Honor, members of the court.
Hi, Vinny.
Hi. Quick briefing on various health issues, including COVID. So first item is COVID's still at a low in the county, but this might be the low for the season for now, because I'm starting to see a flatlining for the last couple of weeks. We've quit going lower and sort of start to turn the trend, if you will. It's still low, but you know, there are some things like we keep an eye on that R0 number. Last couple, 3 weeks, it's been going up. It's still below 1, so nothing to write home about. If you look at the map of the country, pretty nice and clean. You can visit anywhere without much COVID troubles. But, you know, we're heading into cooler season. There is some activity overseas, so is it going to come here? Nobody really knows. There's a lot of Omicron's receding, so there's a lot of ground for other variants to come take up. There's a couple on the radar. There's a BQ1 and BQ1.1, but they're behaving. And then this morning there was some news of other combinations of Delta variant and Omicron, but you know, we'll keep an eye on it. Right now everything's good on the COVID front, so that's what we need to enjoy. But that's where the good news ends. I wanted to point out on the very right top chart there, the red line is pointing to the sky at a 10%. That's our influenza-like illness. And that's a sort of a proxy indicator for flu activity in the community. Flu and other influenza-like illnesses, so RSV also, but but here the next chart is really telling. I mean, look at what's happening in Texas in the map and the southern part of the United States. We're at a high activity of flu this early in the season, and that's bad news. So the chart on the top of that actually is RSV because, you know, there's the influenza-like illness captures a lot of those illnesses that behave like flu. So RSV's been causing some issues. I don't know if you've caught on the news, Cook Children's been talking about it, because primarily younger kids and older adults tend to get that. It does tend to cause, you know, some bronchiolitis and even hospitalization. So it's been pretty rough for the Children's Hospital. Younger daycare age group is getting impacted quite a bit. And then, of course, flu activity. The bottom two charts are related to flu activity. That has picked up quite significantly.
And there is no inoculation.
Not for RSV.
Against RSV.
Correct. So only, you know, preventive measures. If your child is sick, don't send them to daycare or school. You know, heed advice of those school professionals. You know, keep your sick children at home. And I know it's hard, you know, when you're in the workforce, it's always hard to take a day off. Your child's up sick. But that is really the best way to prevent illnesses from spreading, because they do tend to turn into outbreaks in daycares and so forth. And again, for all of us, flu season is the key right now. It's pretty aggressively starting early this year, so get your flu shots if you haven't already gotten those. That's our message to the public, and you know, hopefully we'll not see too much of all kinds of activity happening here with the cooler weather approaching.
Well, and before you move on, so a few weeks ago when I was out, I had bronchitis, which I've never had that in my life, and also was diagnosed with allergy-induced asthma. It's very interesting because this year I've had flu, I've had COVID, I've now had bronchitis. I've never gotten this sick that much in 1 year's time. So I would just encourage everyone to get your vaccines and also just take care of yourselves. And if you are sick, as hard as it is to stay home so that you don't spread it to someone else, even though I know it's easier to say than to do, especially if your livelihood is dependent upon you showing up to work, which, you know, for a lot of people it is. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And thank you for that message, Commissioner, because again, young and healthy is what, you know, anybody looking at you
That's
would
what
think.
they keep
But,
telling
you know,
me, but I keep getting
if
these
you can
cooties.
get it, others who are not in good shape, you know. Yeah. Okay. All right. So then final slides on, you know, monkeypox, and things are, you know, starting to feel like we're, you know, getting out of the woods. I mean, the outbreak's not over. It is still, you know, actively brewing, but we're really starting to see a downtrend nationwide in monkeypox cases and also here in Tarrant County. So that's good news, and hopefully we'll be out of this soon. So that's all I have. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
If you could, the next, I guess, I don't know if you'll report next week, but the following week is just, well, actually, I'm not sure if it's something that we track. You know, our partnership that we have with the grocery stores for
Yes,
flu shots.
and I did ask them for the data. Last year's data, I want to say ballpark was about 2,500 shots, but I'll look at the exact number and maybe send an email update. And then it's been kind of hard to get like real-time data because they have so many stores that participate.
Yeah.
Usually it's the end of season numbers is what we get.
Understood.
But I'll look up previous year's numbers as because I did have them send it to me. It's just escaped my mind.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you.
Vinny.
That's it? We have a public comments.
Yes, sir.
Okay, public comments. First is Reverend Ron Price. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Judge Whitley, Commissioners.
Good morning, Reverend Price.
I'm Ryan Price, the senior pastor at Broadway Baptist Church here in Fort Worth. And I come today troubled by what I've recently read in the Star Telegram reporting of Nicole Manna on the 2019 in-custody death of Mr. Robert Miller. I assume each of you has read the article, and I hope you share my deep concerns. Among other unsettling details, the article raises these key questions. Number one, did Tarrant County jailers pepper spray Mr. Miller 3 times while he was physically restrained in their custody? Number two, if so, were medical personnel duly notified of this fact critical to Mr. Miller's livelihood and care? Number three, why did the medical examiner determine that Mr. Miller's cause of death was sickle cell disease, though Mr. Miller was not known by loved ones to have had sickle cell? And number four, why, as reported, was video from the time immediately preceding Mr. Miller's death not reviewed by the Texas Ranger in charge of investigating the case? And why is that video being withheld from the public today? These are gravely important questions. Given all that has happened in this city and in our jail since 2019, I cannot see how the sheriff's office, the office of the medical examiner, and the county itself can go forward in good faith and conscience without having these questions answered. I call upon you, commissioners, to request a full investigatory review of Mr. Miller's death by the Department of Justice. And I ask that you commit to doing so regardless of who wins next week's county elections. Today is All Saints' Day, and tomorrow is All Souls' Day, a day for remembering that whether saints or not, all souls matter to God. Mr. Miller's soul mattered. His life mattered. And I ask you to affirm the dignity of Mr. Miller's life by ensuring that the circumstances of his death get the attention they deserve. The citizens of our community are counting on you to do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. Thank you, Reverend. Alan Bean.
Thank you, Judge Whitley and the rest of the commissioners. I'm basically just here to say amen to what Reverend Price just said. I am a member of his church. I am also head of a group called Friends of Justice, which has been working with criminal justice reform issues for 20 years, starting off in Tulia, Texas. And I have spent a lot of time in jails and prisons, and I know they are dangerous places. And I know that the people who work there are at risk and are in danger. But I would also remind everyone what doesn't really need to be said, but I think it should be said anyway, that the people who come in and out of our jails and prisons are also in danger. Some of them are dangerous people, but we are charged not just to protect the public from dangerous people, but to protect the people in our charge. And those who work in these facilities need to be trained, they need to be educated, they need to be professional, we need to have protocols, and we need to stick to them. And so those are just some of the concerns that I just wanted to touch on. Basically, as I said, I'm just here to reinforce what Pastor Price said.
Thank you, Mr. Bean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Alex Stringer. Alex Stringer. Okay. Cody Warren, or Warden, excuse me.
Hello, I'm back today again to give you guys a follow-up with the situation that's been going on at the Sheriff's Office. I was here a week ago addressing the First Amendment rights violations that have taken place in the bond office at the Tarrant County Jail. Since that meeting, I went back there to bond an innocent man out of jail again. And while I was there, I was threatened with arrest for filming in a public lobby. Me and the officer had no interaction that day prior to me being threatened with arrest. The reason I was there that day was because the district attorney's office in Sharon Wilson has made it a criminal offense to film police officers in their line of duties. which is a First Amendment protected activity. I've submitted evidence to the district attorney's office and to his attorney showing the man's innocent. She still wants to prosecute the case, along with many other First Amendment rights violations. She's also an advocate for Not in My County, which is a political movement to incarcerate people just based on somebody's word. The judge, there's 2 finalists for judge in the family violence courtroom. One is Brad Clark, and the other one's name is Lisa Pamplin, who is a known racist and a bigot towards white people. If you followed the Aaron Dean case, he got a new judge based on far less bias. Will the people in Tarrant County that are white get a fair trial with Lisa Pamplin as judge? She is currently a finalist for judge on the Democratic Party, which you've openly endorsed. Another thing is I'm going to have to be filing another letter of intent to sue here because nothing has been done in regards to the trespass that was issued at the Internal Affairs Office, and I'm still being threatened with arrest at the Tarrant County Jail. Another thing is when officers are acting outside the law at the district attorney's office, like which would happen to me. Sharon Wilson, it again is sealed all public records, 2 body camera footage. It's on body camera footage that there's a woman named Sergeant Hinkin with the Burleson Police Department that was coercing the victim, well, an alleged victim, to say that I raped her. Is completely false. There was no evidence against me in the assault case that I had. The charges were dropped, and the district attorney's office still will not release that body cam footage. With that being said, with the Not in My County thing that she's a part of, we have one of your sheriff's deputies, Officer Cox, sexually assaulting a friend of mine. So if it's going to be Not in My County, does that just apply to citizens, or does that apply to government officials as well? Because Officer Cox has not only assaulted me, but he's also sexually assaulted my friend, and he's still working with the Sheriff's Department. Thank you.
Another one who had put in for public comment was Dr. Linda Thomas, but she had to, I believe, leave. Linda Thomas, Dr. Thomas, is not here.
She did leave.
That is all of the public comments that have signed up for today. So at this time, we'll recess our open meeting, proceed to close.
Before we recess, Your Honor, if I may.
Yes, sir.
On the Miller case, we have engaged an independent medical examiner to look at the autopsy report and the available medical records so that this court can be clear can have an independent view as to what went on. Once we get that, then we will be in a position to decide on what the next courses of action are. That's where we are.
At this time, we'll recess our open meeting to proceed to close to discuss items exempted under Section 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 082 of the local government code, I think. I think it's that last one, but I'm not sure about. Rangers. Link, if you're on. Having returned from our closed session, there being no business to conduct at this time, we stand adjourned.
How long have you had this password?
Oh, it was here when I got here. I just stick it in that drawer right there. Somewhere I had that.